Well, does this mean college football games are going to get faster? The NCAA is expected to approve, I guess they have approved today, rules changes that were proposed earlier this year that will allow the clock to run after first downs are achieved in all divisions except Division III. The clock will continue to stop after first downs during the final 2 minutes of both halves. So you get a first down in the last 2 minutes of the second quarter or the fourth quarter, the clock will stop while they move the chains. Otherwise, the clock will continue to run. This is designed to make the game a little bit faster. Division I, Division II will adopt the rule. D3 is pushed back, and they're going to go with separate playing rules for that division. 1968, Borky, that's when we kind of went with the separate clock rules for college football versus the NFL. Allowing the clock to run is expected to reduce the number of plays by an average of 7 per game. That is according to Steve Shaw, who is the secretary-editor of the Rules Committee. I don't necessarily have a problem with running the clock after first downs, but I also don't know that that is the best way to speed the game up.
That's where I fall on it. Because the NFL, they don't stop the clock on first downs. And the number of plays run per game is pretty significantly lower than college. And as you know, the fewer plays, the safer the game is. And NFL games are notoriously shorter, and they fit very neatly in a tight window. The NFL's got the whole game thing down to a science, but the NFL also has a couple of other things. They have a shorter halftime by 8 minutes. It's a long time. They have
it's a 12-minute half instead of a 20-minute half.
That's correct. And I think halftime in the NFL begins right away. And in college, they wait until the teams get into the tunnels. So I think it's even longer than the clock allows it to be. The officiating's more efficient. Reviews are more efficient, and you have to challenge a play instead of it just going to review. There's no targeting review. That kind of stuff happens in the NFL. It moves along quicker. But reducing the number of plays in general is a safer thing, and it makes the games faster, and it makes possessions have a higher premium, which might make the games more interesting. Every time your team has the ball, that possession matters more because you have fewer of them. It makes a quarterback that's turnover prone not going to be as forgiving, because if you throw an interception when you're down in the red zone, you don't get as many chances to make up for that. So it adds a little intrigue. But
I mean, 7 plays a game, and that's one drive less per game, basically.
Yeah, that matters. And so, but the thing is, this would be fine if it also meant that something like commercial inventory was reduced. But we all know that's not going to happen. So we're going to get less of the thing we actually want to see and not change the thing that we don't want to see. And that's bad. If you're trying to reduce the length of the game and you're not first addressing things like halftime length and officiating efficiency and length of commercial breaks, then you're doing it wrong, and this won't change anything. It's going to make the downtime feel even longer in college football games.
Yeah, you may be onto something there.
Because
look, I mean, they're not going to reduce the number of commercials that are available because you get these big rights fees and they've got to pay for that. A big part of how they pay for that is through advertising. But I do feel like there are ways. I mean, golf has been creative with kind of like some, during the round advertising. They squeeze in some 30-second or 15-second commercials all the way. I think there are some ways that you can make up revenue. And then there's also an argument that volume isn't the only way. Right, Borky? So let's just say you've got, and I'm making up numbers here. Let's say you've got 30 commercial spots in a college football game. And those commercial spots cost, and again, I'm completely making up numbers. Let's say they cost $5,000 a piece. So you've got $150,000 in television commercial revenue from those 30 commercials. Well, what if you had 24 commercials? So it was a more exclusive thing. You had less random advertiser. You had fewer commercials, and because it was fewer, there was a higher premium. And instead of charging $5,000 a commercial spot, in this example, for 30, you charged $7,000 for 40. I don't know if the math works. It's $7,500, whatever the number is.
Your point is you can
maybe there's another way to make up the revenue and back off a little bit in the amount of time that you're away from the game. I don't know.
I mean, there's a little thing called supply and demand. If supply goes down, demand goes up, and so do prices.
Yeah.
I mean, they can make it work. They could do other things. Now, this isn't that bad, especially under 2 minutes. They're going to stop the clock, which I know people are saying, why do you change the rules based on time? Other sports do that as well. You've got reviews in basketball that only happen under 2 minutes, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not abnormal. In professional basketball, if you call timeout, the ball advances up the floor. So you sacrifice a timeout to get a better position on the floor for like a last-second shot. If you got a timeout left.
Which I think, by the way, would be a great advancement for the college game. And the women's game allows for that. Mike DeCourcy at the Sporting News, he's like the noted antagonist for that, and he thinks it's the worst thing ever. Like that would be the biggest step backwards for college basketball ever. I don't understand, really. It's like it's a strategy piece. It's how you build your end-of-game situations, and it gives you the possibility to have more exciting ends to games.
Yeah. So that's not abnormal to do. Implementing that's fine. I feel like if their goal is to reduce game length, mm-hmm. then they're tackling the wrong thing. But if they did this in conjunction with the other stuff, it'd be great. There's so much changing in college football, and some of it I welcome. You know, there was an article that came out that athletic departments are worried that NIL's taking away from their budget, and I referenced Clemson's putt-putt course, and I know that the majority of college football is not Clemson, but still, I welcome that change because I believe in free market and I believe in capitalism, and I do think that blocking players' ability to make money for the sake of everybody is un-American, let alone they use that money to buy gaudy stuff that nobody needs. So I accept a lot of the changes in college football. But they're changing so much basically all at once, and now you're reducing the number of college football there is. The one thing that we like is the actual games at this point, and now you're taking some of that away as well. Just they need to be careful with the liberties that they're taking with their fans and expecting them to be there forever, because there is a superior football product that is available. There is one. So be careful or you're going to